Okay guys, so I have to start recording again from the Taq polymerase because the video stopped when I use the key, the S. Okay? Kasi dito sa OBS, the S is it is I program this that if I use the S, okay, in the keyboard, it will stop. So, hindi ko naalala. So, nag-stop pala siya. So, again, the Taq polymerase. So, hindi ko na siya ilalagay dyan. Hindi ko na i-encode. So, the Taq polymerase with E at the end. So, that is the enzyme that is used in PCR. Okay? So, if I use the letter P again, it will pause. Okay? So, the PCR, I will just go to scene 2, which is very dirty. Oh, pwede pala siya renew lang. Okay, so PCR. So in PCR, it uses, I cannot use the text, guys. I should not be using my keyboard. So the PCR test, the PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. It uses the enzyme Taq polymerase, which is derived from extremophiles. Okay, that's why it is still viable, or it still displays an activity. It still can catalyze chemical reaction even at 95 degrees Celsius. Taq polymerase. So this is the enzyme that is used for uh, that is M in the polymerase chain reaction. And when did you hear this laboratory procedure, guys? How recent? Kailan nyo to last narinig? The PCR. Okay? What is the use of the PCR? Nowadays, what is its most important use nowadays? That is to test for the presence of COVID-19 in nasopharyngeal swab samples. Okay? So, it requires a long time. Okay? It's very lengthy. Sobrang tagal nito, guys, ang PCR. Okay? So, hindi siya mabilisan. That's why, if you remember, before, sobrang tagal ng result. Diba? Umaabot ng weeks. Okay, bago ma-release yung result. Kasi mabagal to. Okay? Bakit siya mabagal? Because it will try to replicate the hereditary material that is present in the virus first para ma-identify niya specifically and sensitively kung COVID nga talaga yon. Hindi kagaya nung rapid test that they are using as alternative for screening purposes. Those guys those tests have very low specificity and sensitivity. Why? Because it measures the antibody. That's why there are a lot of false positive and false negative reaction when you are using a method, okay, especially that is rapid, measuring the antibodies, because the body has a lot of antibodies. Okay? So, kung hindi specific yung test method mo, magpa-positive ka, false positive. Kung hindi rin naman siya sensitive, okay? So, kahit sobrang baba pa ng antibody, magne-negative ka even if you have the COVID-19. Okay? That's why the PCR is a lot better because it measures the presence of the virus mismo. Okay? I hope that is clear. O, diba? Meron na naman kayo additional knowledge. Going back to the storage. Okay, so repeated freezing and thawing tend to denature the protein, and that should be avoided. What do you mean by thawing, guys? Okay, thawing means to return to normal temperature. Okay, so freeze mo siya, ngayon ibabalik mo na siya sa normal niyang temperature. If you do that, okay, if you repeatedly do what, you freeze the sample and then you thaw it, you freeze the sample and you thaw it, the protein will be destroyed. Masisira sila. They will be denatured. So, anong mangyayari ngayon? For example, ginawa mo ni repeat freezing and thawing mo siya 3 times. Kasi for example, sa una, okay, ang test lang is Okay, so you have a serum sample na ko. Oy, mahirap mag-drawing dito Though hindi rin naman talaga magaling mag-drawing. Okay? So, for example, you have here a serum. Okay? So, you have a serum, and the test needed for the serum are the glucose, the lipid profile. Okay? Okay, review. Ano yung mga kasama sa lipid profile, guys? Sige nga. Anong kasama dyan? Sa lipid profile. Testing for the lipid profile, meron kang HDL. Okay? You also have the LDL. I will not use their proper acronyms, guys, kasi it will take us a lot of time. HDL, LDL, what else? Okay, the triglyceride. What else? Ano pa? The VLDL. Okay? So, ano pa? Aside from HDL, the LDL, the triglyceride, and the VLDL, meron pa ba? Ano pa guys? 4 lang ba? Ilan dapat? That should be 5. We have the cholesterol. Okay, so among them, which is the bad cholesterol, the LDL, and the good cholesterol, that is the HDL. Okay, why are they bad and good cholesterol? Sige nga, bad and good. Bakit nagiging bad cholesterol si LDH? Bakit nagiging good cholesterol si HDL? Bakit guys? Okay, so the HDL is good cholesterol because it carries away the cholesterol. It carries away the cholesterol from the arteries. Okay, the LDL, that is bad cholesterol because it takes your cholesterol back to the arteries, back to the circulation. Unlike si HDL, nilalayo niya yung cholesterol sa circulation mo, dinadala niya sa liver for processing. Okay? Si LDL, low density lipoprotein, and HDL, so high density lipoprotein. So si LDL is bad because it carries the cholesterol to the circulation. Okay? So, nawala na naman tayo sa case natin. So, si freezing and thawing, going back. At least, marami kayong additional knowledge, di ba? So, for example, ang unang test na request kay serum are the glucose and the lipid profile. Okay? So, tapos na yung araw, niref mo na siya. Okay, freezer mo na siya because we store samples in the clinical chemistry section in the freezer. So, frozen. And then the next day, there's an additional test. Okay? Nagpa-add sila ng, BUN and CREA. Okay? So, anong ginawa mo? Tinow mo yung frozen na serum. So, nato na siya. So, na-process mo na yung BUN and CREA. So, niref mo siya ulit kagabihan. Okay, sorry, dapat doon. Freezer, I should say. Freezer mo siya ulit. Kinabukasan, meron na namang test. Additional test na AST and ALT. Yun yung sinasabing repeated freezing and thawing. So, what will happen, guys, to the value of the enzyme? Ano ang pwedeng may. It's not absolute. It may happen. What may happen to the value of the AST and ALT with repeated freezing and thawing? Magde-decrease. Bakit magde-decrease in value? They may. Okay? They may possibly decrease in value. Why? Because of protein denaturation. Okay? Dami-daming sinasabi ni ma'am. Kaya nga hirap mag-aral eh. Okay? Ang dami-dami kong binabasang libro. I even read Henry, I read Bishop, I read Tights. Okay? Para marami kayong matutunan. Okay, 40 last 10 slides. Okay, factors affecting enzyme activity, hemolysis. Okay, so hemolysis mostly increases enzyme concentration. However, it only increases the enzyme concentration of the enzymes that are present in the red blood cell. Okay, so if that is hemolysis of the red blood cell, lysis of the red blood cell nga naman ang hemolysis. Okay, so we go back to the hindi pala ako nag-change ng scene. Okay? So, I'll illustrate this again. So we have here the red blood cell. We have the red blood cell. Okay, so for example, we have the red blood cell. Char! Okay, biconcave disc, ma'am. Okay, ma'am is still not biconcave disc. Para siyang donut. Okay, wala akong pakialam, guys. For example, that is a biconcave disc. Okay, biconcave disc shape. Okay, so bakit siya red in color? Because of the presence of hemoglobin. Okay, what is the main function of the hemoglobin? That is to carry oxygen. Carry the gases, not only the oxygen, but as well as the carbon dioxide. To carry oxygen to the cells and to carry the carbon dioxide away from the cells. Okay? So, balikan natin. Hemolysis, lysis of the red blood cell. Okay? So, for example, naghiwa-hiwalay. Okay? Nabitak yan. Okay? So, naghiwalay na yung red blood cell. So, nasira. So, what will happen? The enzymes that are present inside the red blood cell will be released to the circulation. And when we say circulation, saan to guys? Sa circulatory system. Okay, kung saan natin kinuha yung serum and plasma. So, the enzymes are released to the circulation. So, what will happen guys? Will it increase or decrease yung enzymes? It will increase. Okay? But take note that the enzymes that are only increased are the enzymes that are present in the red blood cell. Okay? So, hindi naman tataas yung value ng enzyme kung hindi naman siya present sa red blood cell. Nakukuha? And what are examples of enzymes that are increased during hemolysis? The AST and the LDH. So, they are increased when there is hemolysis. Okay, factors affecting enzyme activity. So, we still have the lactescence or milky specimen. So, milky specimen, they decreases the enzyme concentration. Okay, so because of the presence of a lot of solute, possible na nagkakaroon ng inhibition. So, nagde-decrease ang enzyme activity. And since that is milky, it will also affect the method, especially if that is using spectrophotometry, which uses the, diba? Ano na ulit sa spectro? Yung sa light. Okay? The blockage of light and blah, blah, blah. So, ano na namang law ang related sa ating spectrophotometer? Yung mga manginginom dyan, maaalala nyo yan. The Beer's Law. Okay? So, the Beer's Law. So, factors affecting plasma enzyme activities. Guys, malapit na tayo matapos. Okay, don't you worry. Ilang slide na lang to. Okay, so factors affecting plasma enzyme activities. First, death of enzyme-containing cells. So, we discussed this already. So, if a cell dies, what will happen to the enzyme? The enzyme will be released to the circulation. So, tataas ngayon yung level niya sa ating circulation. Okay? Nakukuha? So, the enzymes will be released to the circulation because of the leakage. So, enzymes are also released in the process of normal cell turnover that is thought to be the source of normal plasma levels of various enzymes. Bakit kaya may mga enzyme pa rin sa circulation normally? Meron silang mga normal range. So, meron talagang enzyme present sa fluid part ng ating dugo. Okay? So, bakit daw? Because of the hemolysis or the lysis, not only the hemolysis of red blood cell, but the turnover, yung pagkamatay or yung pagkasira ng mga cell natin. Okay? Kasi they are constantly being changed. Okay? So, napapalitan kasi yung mga cells natin, di ba? Increased synthesis of the enzyme. So, kailan yan nangyayari? Okay? With increased activity of osteoblasts, so this is in the bone, plasma levels of bone isoenzyme of ALT increases. Even in those who are addicts in doing exercise, yung sobrang addict mag-gym, okay? So, yung may malalaki ng muscle, okay, malalaking muscle. So, they have a greater greater concentration of the CK, okay? Because of the increased synthesis of muscle, mas marami silang muscle cell. mas marami yung nasisira. Kaya tumataas din ang value ng CK nila in their circulation. But that is normal because of the increased synthesis of the muscle cell drugs. Okay, sino nang nalulong sa droga? Many drugs that stimulate microsomal enzymes, kagaya ni ethanol, okay, and anti-epileptic agents lead to increased plasma level of gamma-glutamyl transferase. That's why in chronic alcoholism, okay, in chronic alcoholism, guys, anong nangyayari? Okay, so ano nangyayari sa chronic alcoholism? Mataas ang level ng gamma-glutamyl transferase. Okay? So, increased plasma enzyme levels may be due to decreased clearance of enzymes from the circulation. Anong ibig sabihin niya? Okay? Tumataas din yung level ng enzyme kasi bumababa yung pagkatanggal nila sa circulation. Kailan ba nangyayari yung tumadami yung level? Because of decreased clearance. Okay, if the kidney has problem. Pag may problema sa kidney, anong nangyayari? It does not function well. It cannot clear metabolites or substances. Okay? Kasi nga meron siyang sakit. Hindi siya nagpa-function properly. Okay? So, some smaller enzymes, such as the amylase and lipase, are partially cleared by glomerular filtration. So, in case of renal failure, their level increases because of poor clearance or decreased clearance. So, ang magre-reflect, tataas sila sa ating tugo. Okay, so what else? So the naming, the nomenclature that is handled by the IUB and the IUPAC. So the name of enzyme, that is the name of the substrate plus the word ESE. So kung meron yung ESE, most likely that is an enzyme. So the Enzyme Commission offered code numbers, kaya merong 4 elements, okay? So meron kang 4 numerical value, 4 numbers. So that is their easy numbers. Okay, so the class, there are 6 classes under IUB. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. So we have the oxidative reductases. So depending on the chemical reaction that they act upon. Okay, so I discussed this already in your biochemistry. The definition are in the bishop. So please read. Okay, so factors affecting the lifetime of enzymes in the blood: size. Okay, size. Kalaki at kaliit. Okay? Okay, size. Okay, so, if you remember my example, sikal. Okay, so, wag. Wag. Okay, so, in AMI, in acute myocardial infarction, okay, there are 3 enzymes of diagnostic significance: the CAL, the CK, the AST, and the LDH. Okay? So, do not forget this order because it is also their order of increased level in the serum or in the plasma. Unang tumataas si CK, followed by AST, and lastly tumataas si LDH. So, we correlate it with the discussion of this one. So, size, factors affecting the lifetime of enzymes in blood. Bakit sila tumatagal sa blood? Okay? Bakit yung iba mas mabilis mawala? Okay? So, we go back. So, in myocardial infarction, guys, si CK, okay, CK and AST are smaller relative to LDH. Okay? So, since mas maliit sila, kapag nagkakaroon ng lysis of, for example, sa heart muscle, okay? So, nagkakaroon ng damage of the heart cells, I should say. So, marirelease ngayon ang AST at si CK at saka si AST. So, mauuna si CK, okay, and AST kaysa kay LDH. Why? Kasi mas malaki si LDH. Kaya mas matagal siyang makikita sa circulation, okay, or sa plasma or sa serum. Okay? So if injury is still ongoing in injury of the heart in the acute myocardial infarction, the plasma enzyme levels will continue to be elevated. Okay? So as long as continuous yung lysis of cell, pagkasira ng cell, continuous din na mataas yung value ng enzyme. Just like in hepatitis. Ma'am, iba na naman. Okay? So, in hepatitis, okay, sa mga viral hepatitis, matagal yung na mataas yung level ni ALT and EST. Why? Because in hepatitis, there is a continuous damage of of the cells. Okay? Pakonti-konti kasi yan yung pagka-damage ng cells. Kaya, pataas ng pataas din yung level. That's why the level of the AST and ALT can also be used in therapeutic monitoring. Why? Kasi, kung for example, dati mataas, before sila mag-administer ng drugs. Okay? Kung pataas yun ng pataas, kahit matagal na siyang nagme-medication, okay, if that is still increasing, the therapeutic regimen is not working. Okay? It's not working kasi hindi bumababa yung level ng hepatic enzymes. Ibig sabihin, pataas pa rin ng pataas yung cellular injury. Okay? So, hindi siya na-manage. But, in case they administer a drug, and then, after some time, bumababa yung level ng dalawang to, okay? Pwede nilang i-conclude that the therapeutic regimen that they are using is working to the patient. Okay? Kasi, it decrease in the level would mean lumiliit yung nasisirang cell. Okay? Relative gradient between cells and serum. So, for any given amount of cell damage, the enzyme with the higher gradient between cells and serum will show greater elevation in the plasma. Okay? Kagaya sa hepatocyte injury. Mauunang tataas yung EST kaysa kay ALT. Okay? Or, mauunang tataas si ALT and EST as compared kay LDH kasi nga mas mataas yung gradient nila. So, after the injury, the AST will show greater degree of elevation, okay, than with the ALT and the LDH. Why? Kasi among them, the AST has the highest gradient. Kaya siya yung may pinakamataas na degree ng increase. Sa cardiac tissue naman, the gradient of CK between the myocardial cell and the plasma is several times higher as compared kay LDH. So, since mas mataas yung gradient ni CK, mas mabilis din siyang mag-appear sa plasma. Okay? Aside from that, half-life. We talk about half-life. Yung half-life naman ni CK is shorter than the LDH. Kaya nga, kahit mas mabilis mag-appear si CK in the serum after a cardiac injury, mas mabilis din siyang matatanggal. Mas mabilis yung clearance niya because of the shorter half-life. Okay? Kaya mas matagal magpa-persist yung increased level of LDH in the plasma or in the serum if there is an AMI. Okay? So, that is also the rate of clearance of enzymes in the plasma. So, yun na yun, yung sa half-life. Kung mas shorter yung half-life, mas mabilis siyang ma-expel from the body. So, mas mabilis kumonti yung level niya. But the higher the half-life, it will stay longer in the body because of the longer period of clearance. Okay, so we have here an example for you to see. So this is a chemical reaction catalyzed by the hexokinase, converting glucose to become the glucose 6-phosphate with the help of the ATP, okay, as well as the magnesium. So the hexokinase, it acts as the enzyme, and these are cofactors. Okay, so last slide. So Some examples of inborn errors in metabolism because of deficiencies of enzyme. So kapag kulang, especially if that is genetics, kulang ka sa enzyme, there are diseases that would result. Why? Because that would result to the accumulation of substrate. Okay? So, like in inborn error alkaptonuria, so it results from the deficiency of the enzyme uh, homo- homogenizate 1,2-dioxygenase as well as for the others. So, ang mahirap kasi dito, these are inborn error. So, most likely, wala na siyang treatment. Okay? What doctors do is to manage the effect. Okay? So, manage the effect. Like in the G6PD deficiency, okay? May mga bawal sa kanilang drugs. Why? Bakit bawal? Including si Primakin that is used for the treatment in malaria. Bawal yun because that would destroy the red blood cell. Because the G6PD is a component of the um, red blood cell that is important for the stability of the cell membrane. Okay? So, that ends our discussion for today. I hope you learned a lot. Okay, so same requirement you outline. Guys, outline, you don't need to write everything. Okay, so i-outline nyo lang. Take note that these are important concept also. So, are important in our topic because of the absence of the deficiency would lead to disease. Okay, so, i-outline nyo pa rin siya. So, that is the output that I am requiring you for the learning task. Okay? So, in that way kasi, mas sure ako na nakinig kayo sa presentation. Okay? And mas may natutunan kayo kasi definitely nakinig ka, in-outline mo siya. Diba? Do not outline Bishop. Do not rely on Bishop because the concepts that I shared to you here, guys, are from multiple resources. That's why it really takes me a lot of time to accomplish a lesson or a lecture. Kasi nga maraming libro yung binabasa ko para mas marami ako may share and mas may ipaintindi ko and mas maituro ko siya ng mas maayos because using Bishop alone is not enough. Okay, it's not enough. And if you read Bishop, actually, hindi mo siya madaling maintindihan, especially in the first reading. Okay? Like, even for the Cal, bakit nauna si CK? Okay na nag-a-appear. In the Bishop, it is not explained there, but it is well explained in the Henrys. Okay, so I hope you all a good health and I hope we can cope up with this pandemic and I think this will last long pa. Why? Because other countries okay has already paid for the vaccine. So bayad na sila kahit wala pa. So most likely the developing countries mas mahuhuli tayo because we do not have funds, uutangin lang natin. But guys, despite that, we just pray. Okay, do not forget to pray. Okay, so we will have the quiz next week on Wednesday. Okay, we will have the quiz on Wednesday. On Tuesday, you will have your quiz in parasitology. Okay, so bye bye.